Welcome to the Unwashed Asses, episode 84, recorded for Wednesday, February 20th, 2019. It's supposed to be Wednesday, but it's Thursday morning. Bright and early it was when I woke up. Not so much now as 8:30 rolls around. I've got kind of fuck all to talk about today. That's why there's been a delay, as I've been trying to figure out a topic and nothing's really popping to mind. So feedback is you want more personal stories, I guess, or philosophies. I've got nothing. Like it's a big old constipated dump just waiting to happen, but I apparently need to start drinking more of the diuretic because it's not coming out. There's nothing. So I guess we're gonna recap and we're gonna freestyle and I'm gonna turn my hat around backwards and sit on a chair and throw out some V's at you and hope we can come together as children of the Lord. No, it's just been work lately. Not even really doing anything when I get home, per the usual, as much as I'd like to. I have started playing another game, though, Horizon Zero Dawn. I was looking at my save file. The last time I played it was July of 2018, and I pretty much just got through the opening bit, and then when the world opened up, I'm done with this. We're going to set it down for nearly a year. And it comes to me again. I'm tired of multiplayer games right now. Sick of the endless competition and feeling like I'm stuck on a treadmill, and there's a grind that is just constantly ongoing, and if I stop and take a break or feel like I need a breather, then I fall further behind. And Destiny was the biggest proponent of this belief, this feeling in me that I can't take a break because I'm going to fall behind. Or the content in Black Armory in particular was just very, very heavy on the grind, and to get even a minor thing accomplished, it required a significant amount of work and time investment, and it burned me out. Tried jumping over to For Honor, and honestly, the bulk of people that still play that are the uber hardcore on PC. And I mean, some matches I do well, other matches I just get my ass handed to me, and it's exhausting. I want to play a game and actually have enjoyment and not feel like I'm getting my shit pushed in every 5 fucking minutes. And so I was looking through the Steam library and found Blades of Time. Blades of Time was a sequel that no one had asked for to X-Blades. Both were released in the Xbox 360, PS3 era. And they are just terrible games, just awful, god-awful games. But I was thinking, you know what, I need something in the vein of an awful game right now. I need a palate cleanser. And so X-Blades was kind of scratching that itch. I had been streaming it and commenting and kind of getting back to, not necessarily roots, but getting back to what games used to be, where alright, it felt more like a rental, like, I went over to the local Blockbuster, I picked up this game for $3, and I'm going to play it and see how it is. And, 5 hours in, it was a goldmine in terms of comedy because of how laughable the content was. The story is atrocious, the controls are overly complex, because this was a time in gaming where innovation was still happening. We hadn't really figured out how to handle, or we haven't standardized controls across platforms. And so it's always interesting when you go back and play games in that era, because you can see the hints of what was about to happen in terms of like controls and game styles and what would eventually become kind of normalized, but it's not quite there. So you're always fighting against something odd and bizarre. And in the case of X-Blades, it's just you have a billion different abilities. It's not really pruned or streamlined. And because I usually play with a controller versus keyboard and mouse, I tried this one with keyboard and mouse, and my left hand is like trying to figure out, like, I can type all day long without looking at the keyboard, but when you don't give me real context and I have to find individual keys, it's like, I think this is here. Nope, that definitely hit the wrong ability, and now I'm dead again. So it was fun. I still have yet to beat it, but then I remembered, oh yeah, I have this PlayStation that I had wanted desperately for years, and I got it, and I beat a couple games on it and started others, but never really, sunk a hell of a lot of time. I don't know. Nier and Hellblade took a lot of time. But fired up Horizon Zero Dawn, and kind of like what Bayonetta was for me ages ago when I was getting burned out on Gears of War and Call of Duty and other shooters. It was a step back, and it was a way to just kind of play the game with myself, because it's a single player game, and I was able to kind of relax because there's no outright competition against other players. There are no other players, and I'm able to kind of take things at my own pace, and if I fuck up, it's on me, but it's not punishingly difficult like Bloodborne or Dark Souls would be. And so I had the choice, are we gonna play this game on normal? Are we going to play it on hard? I had recently, several years ago, adopted the philosophy that games should be played on hard, because that way you're getting typically the enhanced AI where they're using different tactics, and it's more difficult without it being turned into like a bullet sponge experience, which is just artificial difficulty. But this one, I'm like, you know what, we're going to tone it back. We're just going to keep it on normal. And I have been having such a lovely time. And even on the PS4, it is beautiful, and it runs at such a crisp frame rate, and it's interesting in the way that they made the game, because what you're seeing is all that's being rendered at the time. It's like a cone of vision. Everything else kind of drops off, so all that processing power goes into just what you're seeing instead of rendering the entire world, and it's utterly fantastic technology, and it really makes the console shine as far as like, oh, this is spectacular. And it's almost overwhelming the amount of stuff that's in the game, because it's a post-apocalyptic kind of like what Anthem's doing, where we have this post-apocalyptic paradise where it's an overabundance of nature, and we have some high-tech components, but they're more relics and act as armor, and there's ruins of skyscrapers and whatnot. It's definitely a genre that's coming into its own, but it works so well here. It's such a pretty game where I'm literally just like, all right, well, I'll play for a half hour or an hour tonight, and I don't set off to do any objectives like quests or hunts or really what the game wants me to do. Instead, I'm just having a ton of fun exploring the environment, picking flowers and twigs, and upgrading my equipment and giving myself better storage capacity, just like really working on the character. And it doesn't feel like a tedious grind like so many games do in that aspect, where if you really want to work on your character and upgrade their capabilities, you got to put in a serious time commitment. And this doesn't feel that way, where I'm just kind of playing the game how I want to, and I'm unlocking the things naturally to where I don't even know how far I am into the game. Like, I'm just, because there's 3 different tribes of people, I'm just now starting to leave that first area, and I have what I would assume to be insane gear based on the stats in comparison to the other shops. But now it's a thing of, do I want to play the fashion game, because there's some silks that I could put on this character and some nifty scarves instead of the more caveman-esque or Nordic apparel. Sure, it doesn't have the stats, but the fashion game's the most important one to me. I want to look good. So after we get done recording that, I'm going to stream a fuckload more of that today, because it's the first day I've had off, and I'm excited, and I need a break. Need a break to kind of decompress. And so I'm excited about that. Beyond that, not a whole hell of a lot. We had the fire alarm go off last night. Found out our entire building has a fire alarm system, not just like the individual units. So were sitting around watching YouTube last night, and immediately the entire apartment just starts screeching and howling, almost like a disorienting way because of how loud it is. And we're trying to figure out which of the detectors going off. We can't figure it out. And then Rachel goes downstairs and she sees like the main, like the fire alarm in the main hallways going off. So it's like, oh, this is an entire building thing. So we go outside, and one of the neighbors comes out, and he apparently has lived here quite a bit longer, or his neighbor's just a fuckwad. We've never encountered it before in the year we've been here, but apparently his neighbor had burned their dinner, and it triggered the entire building fire alarm. And apparently the only way that fucking thing gets turned off is if the local fire department comes over and turns it off. Which I don't know how true that was, because eventually... well, not eventually, several minutes later, it did eventually turn off. I keep saying eventually. Like, the thought's eventually going to come to me, and eventually I'm going to learn how to speak properly. And then maybe 10 minutes after that, the fire truck rolled up. So that was weird. But annoying. Just, it was so disorienting and terrible. Just awful. Awful. I'm sorry, I have nothing today. Like, all right, well, let's go through Google News and see if I can find a story to talk about there. Oh, there's really not much going on, and I don't want to talk about politics. So I'm like, all right, well, let's see if we can find something humorous, like, penis. Nope, got nothing there. Just, terrible. I've got nothing, and I feel terrible about it. No, beyond that, nothing too exciting. I am tempted, though, by the new Resident Evil, the remake of Resident Evil 2. And it's something I am finding myself more and more tempted by, because of fucking gameplay videos on YouTube, which doesn't make sense because usually I hate watching people play video games. But there's one person in particular who I've been watching a lot of their videos on. They're doing like no damage runs. Let me see if I can find the name. Where is... Oh yeah, SMVR. It's a relatively new channel, but yeah, he's doing a whole lot of no damage runs in the DLC, and he makes Resident Evil look compelling and exciting in a way that it hasn't for me in ages. I fell off the Resident Evil bandwagon after Resident Evil 5. 6 completely derailed the series, and then there were a bunch of side stories which were just terrible in terms of quality, much like 6 was. And 7 fell into the similar styles and trappings of games like Amnesia and Outlast, which just scared the ever-living shit out of me, and I played them but couldn't beat them, and I didn't want to kind of do that to myself with Resident Evil. Played the demo, and like, nope, not for me. That, and honestly the whole serial killer, cannibal, hillbilly horror trope is the one that, for whatever reason, gets to me the most. It unnerves me. Things like the Texas Chainsaw Massacre, it really fucks with me. The Hills Have Eyes is another one. So I wasn't going to involve myself in a first-person experience and kind of go through that hell. But Resident Evil 2, I remember when it first came out on PS1, my dad had got it, and he was super into it, like really into it. So every other weekend when I'd go over to his house, I would fucking throw down the gauntlet in RE2. It was funny because I remember he went to the local library and got the fucking strategy guide, but rather than just like bring the strategy guide home, he paid to photocopy every fucking page out of it and then used that. So we had this rinky-dink fucking strategy guide that was 3-hole punch, and then he put each individual page inside like a plastic protector and put it all in one big binder. And Like, I had played the first Resident Evil, and it had scared the shit out of me. Like, there was something about Resident Evil where it was traumatic to me to play through it, and it just unnerved me and scared me, but it consumed my thoughts. There was something about the atmosphere and the world that they built, and I was just consumed by it. And I really got into the lore, and just anything Resident Evil, I loved it. Loved it. Like all the SD Perry books, which were shitty, I have those. I got the action figures, and I was really, really into it because here's this super spooky, super scary fucking thing with a laughable B-movie plot, but because of how scary it was, it doesn't matter how silly the plot was. So when they remade the first Resident Evil, I picked it up on Xbox years after because they kept... This is what Capcom does, is they'll re-release the game over and over again, kind of like Skyrim, fucking Elder Scrolls 5. But no, that one, while people praised it and raved about it, I couldn't fucking play it. It was too hard. I was too dumb. I couldn't figure out the puzzles. My girlfriend at the time, she had played through it, so she was kind of guiding me through, but fucking hell, just... I don't ever remember Resident Evil being as difficult as that was. Maybe it was a thing where I had blocked it out and, you know, I had worked on building my characters up and getting like the unlimited ammo or the better special weapons, and or memorizing them to the point where the playthroughs weren't difficult, and because I was being thrust into a first playthrough, I couldn't handle it. And then, but it was using the tank controls and the static camera angles, and they had added extra areas into the mansion, so it was like a new experience, but using the old mechanics. Whereas this version of Resident Evil 2, they've updated the mechanics. It's a third-person over-the-shoulder, modern menus and modern play style, but it's using the old locales. Sure, they've added new stuff on, but it's essentially fuck, I can't even talk. It's the remake that the game deserved, and it's receiving universal praise. But again, Resident Evil is fucking terrifying to me, and this takes it to the next level because we have these enhanced visuals. Some of the game, you know, in areas it's pitch black, you can't see, you have to use a flashlight. And now you have Mr. X fucking chasing you for the bulk of the game. Like, you can't make him go away. It's not scripted events. But, and I was scared. I was scared to play the game. But now, looking at SMVR's videos and what he's putting up, it makes it seem fun and enjoyable. Where it's not so much about the horror as it is about the... survival aspect. I'm watching like the DLC playthroughs where it's just like, okay, get from point A to point B, and he's doing it with a big fluffy adorable raccoon on his head, and I don't know, I'm tempted. Maybe not $60 tempted, but when this thing drops in price a little bit and I'm done playing Anthem and, you know, Horizon Zero Dawn and finally beat Bloodborne, I know it'll be there waiting for me, and I can definitely dig into it. Sorry about today. I'm gonna try to be able to talk and to have content to talk about come Friday. Otherwise, if you have anything you want me to talk about, you can always shoot an email over at theunwashedasses@gmail.com. Again, theunwashedasses@gmail.com. And of course, this year, all we're asking for in order to support the show is tell a friend. Let them know. They can get it wherever they get podcasts, and usually it's a pretty good show. Otherwise, if you want to take it above and beyond, pitch in $1 or $2 a month over at patreon.com/zeroand09, ZEROAND09. But until then, it's going to wrap it up.